It's TK Friday, and this is the joy of editing. Today we'll be doing another full edit. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome to the joy of editing with Dave Kelly. It is TK Friday, my favorite day of the week, and I hope it's yours too. It's another full edit. Today's image comes to us from Shankar Jadapa, an image of a 5th century temple in India. Now, I'll link some info about this temple in the description below this video in case you want to check it out. Now, you can download the image as well as the PDF notes. I'll have Dropbox links in the description below this video. Just click on more. That opens up the description. Scroll down through. You'll find those links. And if you have an image you would like me to edit on a TK Friday, scroll down further. You'll find a Contact Me link. Click on that link, Contact Me, and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. By the way, if you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, I'll have a link for it in the description right below this video. You can click on that link. It'll take you over to Tony Kuiper's web store, and there you can save 15% off your entire purchase. The TK9 plugin for Photoshop training videos. Just use my promo code TK15, and that will get you 15% off your entire purchase. When you use that code, I make a small commission. You save money, so thank you for using my code and enjoy the savings. Well, let's go ahead and get started. As always, I start out here in Lightroom, do some basic edits on the image. I use a linear profile. I like to get a relatively flat image going into Photoshop where I'll fully develop the image using the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. Did a little bit of noise reduction on this image under detail. For lens corrections, I always check on remove chromatic aberration as well as enable profile corrections. And then for transform, I clicked auto just to make sure the image was nice and level. And then for a crop, I made a pretty aggressive crop in the image, but that is it. And now at this point, we're ready to take the image into Photoshop. I would just right click on the image, go to edit in Photoshop 2024, but as always, I'm already there. Here we are in Photoshop. Now, I did remove some distractions, like there was a sign in this image. I got rid of that. Just wanted to clean it up a little bit. Now, when you download your image, it will look just like this. I'll start out, as always, with balance and contrast adjustments on both foreground and sky. And let's set that all up first. The first thing we want to do is save out the sky and the foreground as a channel. So hold your Command or Control key down and go to your combo or CX panel. They're both the same. They're just laid out differently. And look for this button right here, the little cloud with the sun. That selects the sky. Again, hold your Command or Control key down and click on this button, and that will save the sky out as a channel, as you can see. Now hold your Command or Control key down again and double click that button, and that will save the foreground out as a channel. Pretty cool. And then come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the luminosity mask button, and we want midtones 3, and I only use this to protect shadows and highlights from getting clipped. And now we need to output this, so we'll output it to a color grading tool. So we'll click this button, and now you can see the color grading tool with that midtones 3 mask on it. I need to duplicate this, so I'll come to my combo panel and I will click this button just to duplicate that. And now for the next step, go to your layer mask calculator, because remember we saved out a sky and a foreground channel, which we can apply to these color grading layers as masks, and I'll show you how we do it. Hold your Command or Control key down and click on the layer mask calculator button, and all that does is keep the calculator open until you click the X, because every time you run a calculation, it auto closes, but when you hold the Command or Control key down, it keeps it open. And then when you're done with the calculator, click the X to close it. The top color grading layer will be for the sky, so I'll click on sky and click X to intersect, and now the sky is intersected with the midtones 3 mask. And now I'll click on the first color grading layer to make it active. I'll click on foreground and I'll click X to intersect the foreground with the midtones 3 mask. And now we're ready to start, and we will start on the foreground. I'll click X to close the layer mask calculator to get my combo panel back. And now I'm going to click on the midtone button, and we'll adjust the midtones first. I'm going to lighten them up. So I'll drag the slider to the right. Now you don't see a change when you're dragging the slider until you release the click of your mouse. And I'm going to take this over to right there, plus 48. Now I want to darken up my shadow. So we'll click on the shadow button and I will take this slider to the left and I'll take it over to right there, minus 37. Now if I needed to color grade the shadows, I can see my cursor. I could click anywhere on this color wheel and color grade that. But I'm not going to do any color grading on this image. But I'm just using the color grading tool because it's a great way of adjusting shadows, midtones, and highlights. I really love it for that, as well as color grading. Moving onward and upward, we look to the sky. So I'll click on the top color grading layer, which is the sky, and we'll start with midtones. I'll click on the midtone button. I just want to darken up the midtones a little bit over to right here, a minus 21. Now let's click on the highlight button, and I just want to open up the highlights. So I'll drag this to the right, and I think I'm going to go to right there, plus 28. Let me click the before after button. We started out here and now we're here. And I love this first opening balance and contrast adjustment for sky and foreground because it really gives you a really good starting point to really study the image and see which direction you want to take it. At this point of the edit, I usually like to try a midtone contrast adjustment, but for this image, I think I got plenty of midtone contrast. I'm really happy with it. So I'm going to try something a little different. When I look at the image, when I look at this walkway coming up to the temple, and I like how the S curve goes and points at the temple. I want to darken it because it's too light drawing the viewer's eye to it, as well as the grass. But we're going to use add color. Now, I introduced this last week in a video and a lot of you liked it. So I found a way to make it a little simpler to use, and I'll show you that in this video. Now, add color is a TK action, and you will find it in your TK actions. If your actions aren't open, click your TK button and then click add color. Now, the way I did this last week, a color picker comes up and I want to work in the grass. So I would sample a color in the grass like right here. And now your whole image turns green. Now here's the way I'm doing it now. I'm just going to click cancel for now. And let's try that again. Click add color. But this time, don't do anything but click OK. You'll notice we're at neutral gray right here, like 50% gray, I believe it is. Click OK, and nothing changes, right? And we have this add color layer, which is a solid color adjustment layer with a black hide all mask. And also take note, we're in a soft light blend mode. Now here's the next step. Double click on this icon. The color picker comes up again. Now we're going to sample that color right here. And I want to darken, so I'm just going to get an estimated area that I want to darken, and I think maybe somewhere in here. It's just a guess for now. We'll change that later, and I'll click OK. But there we can see that right there, that solid color layer with that darkish green color. And now I need to target the grass, so I'll use the multi-mask panel. Right now the color grading tool's in the way. I'll click the X. Nothing changes on the color grading layers, and we will click on the color mask button, and now we're going to pick that color again, like right here, because now we're going to make a mask. I'll click OK, and now you can see the targeted area in light. So what I want to do is drop out some of these orange tones. So I'll take this top handle and I'll drag it into the right. You see how those tones go out, and maybe right about there. And now we can take this brightness slider and drag it to the right, and we'll take it the whole way over to the right. And now we have it. Now if we want to, so there's some areas out here that really won't hurt anything, but we could click on this black brush and at 100% opacity. Right now I'm at 20%. I'll type my 0 key and I'll just paint off these areas here. This is grass down here in the walkway, and so I'm going to let that be selected. That's good. And now we need to output this. I'm going to output it just the way it is, so we're going to click on this button here, which in turn adds the mask to the solid colored layer. And just like that, if I shut this layer off, here's before and here's after. Now it's dark, and now we can make some fine tuning. So we can double click on this icon. The color picker comes up, and now we could just in real time see the change. This is what I love about this. You see how I can alter that color any way I want. I could come here and change the tint, whatever we need to do. Give it less saturation, give it more saturation, lighten it up, darken it. So we can lighten, we can darken. It's really cool. When I was making the edit the other day, I have a hex number that I can go ahead and type into here and get that exact same result that I had on my previous edit, which I'll do. So I'll type in 3D4A2C, and that's the exact adjustment I had on the previous edit, and I'll click OK. And now let me shut this layer off. Here's before and here's after. Now we've darkened up the grass a little bit, changed the tint a little bit on it, but next we're going to work on the walkway, and we'll use an add color action for that also. Again, come to your TK actions. If they're not open, click your TK button and click add color and simply click OK. There's the solid color layer with the black mask and the soft light blend mode. Now let's find a color that is dark and a similar color to this path. So what we'll do is double click and then come, and I'm going to pick right here. This is kind of dark, and you see there's that color right there. And there's the hex number for it. We'll click OK. Nothing will change because we have this black mask. And now we need to make a mask to target this, but I'll do this a little different this time because I don't want to touch the temple, and the temple has the same color as the walkway and the rocks. This time I'll paint it on through a selection, targeting only the areas that I want. But first we need to make a mask. So I'll come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the color mask button again, and I will sample a color that represents that walkway, like right here, and click OK. And now you can see how nicely that is selected. Now I want to drop out some of the grass, so I'll take this bottom handle and drag it into the left. See how that grass just drops right out of there. And I think that should be good right there. Now let's take this brightness slider and drag it to the right and really lighten that area up. Now, as you can see, it's getting the temple also, as well as the rock. So here's what we do. We're going to output it to a black mask, painting through a selection with a white brush. So click this button, and now you can see we have a selection as noted by the selection indicator. Now the marching ants are hidden for us, and I have a white brush at 20% opacity. I need to change that to 100%. I'll type my 0 key. I'll make my brush larger, and I'll just paint this walkway. You see that? I'll paint it again down here, make it a little bit darker down in this area. Maybe one more time. Maybe I'll get it up here once. I'm going to change the brush to 10% opacity. I'll type my 1 key, and I'll just paint on these rocks a little bit just to darken them up just a little wee bit so they're not drawing our eye too much. And maybe back on this side of the rocks back here. And now we've left the temple alone. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Now I would like this to be a little bit darker. I can't get it any darker, but let me show you a tip. If we change this to a linear light blend mode, and we could do that by clicking this button on the combo panel, it lightens up a little bit, but let me show you. If you come to fill, now TK sets us up for 15% fill. So let me click the drop down and I will increase this. See how I can really darken that up if I want to. I don't want to go too much, but I want to go to maybe right there, 28%. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. But now this walkway is darkened, these rocks a little bit, and the temple is not. So that's nice. But we can go ahead and fine tune this solid color adjustment layer. I'm going to double click right here. And of course, we can move this around. You know, we can darken it up more, whatever. We can change the tint, whatever we need to do here. I have a number in mind, and it is on my notes, a hex number, so I'm going to type that in, and that number is 3A3029, and I'll click OK. And now let me shut this off. Here's before and here is after. Pretty cool. So I love the add color. You could darken things, change color. You could do a lot with it. And I'm just really finding the power behind the add color adjustment. It's really, really cool. Now, when I study the image, the sky to me, I would like it just to be a little softer looking. It's a little bit too much detail up there for me. I want to soften it, and I'll use a clarity action to do it. I don't know if I've ever done this on a TK Friday video, but if your actions aren't open, click your TK button and find your clarity action and click on it. A high pass filter comes up, and change the value here to like 40.2 should work, and click OK. Now that's the opposite of what I want. All you need to do is invert this and come to your combo or CX panel and click the invert button. And now you notice the whole image got soft. Now I only want this in the sky, but we can use our layer mask calculator. So click on the layer mask calculator button, click on sky, and click apply. And now we only have that in the sky. So let me shut this layer off. Here's before and here's after. Now you can always double click on high pass. If you want it less softened, drag this to the left. More softening, drag it to the right. But I like it the way it is. I'll just click OK or cancel. Either way, it doesn't matter. But now we have that nice softened sky. Now I'd like to bring out some detail in the temple, on these rocks, and on the walkway. So here's how we'll do it. I need to stamp all these layers together and make a smart object. So hold your Command or Control key down and click this button right here. You'll stamp your layers together. You'll get a smart object. Click the ACR button. That'll take us into the camera raw filter. And you want to go to effects. If effects aren't open, just click on effects, and we'll take the texture and I'll drag this to the right over to right here, plus 42, and we'll give it a little bit of clarity. So I'll drag this to the right and we'll take it to right there, 25. I'll type my backslash key. Here's before, here's after. Now it's on the entire image, but we'll take care of that. I only want it on the temple, rocks, and walkway. So we'll click OK to output this back into Photoshop. Now let's click this button on either the combo or CX panel to put a black hide all mask just to hide everything. And now you can use the TK selection brush, which is free, and I have a link for it in the description below this video, or you could use the object selection tool. So just click on that. I'm in the rectangle mode, and I'll just draw a marquee around the temple because I want the temple. And now let's come to the layer mask calculator. I'm going to make 3 selections. So hold your command or control key down, click on the layer mask calculator. That'll just keep it open. And right now I have an active selection. So we'll click that and we will click this button to apply it. And now we have the detail on the temple only. But I also want to add it to the rocks here, the walkway, and this wall back here. So here's what I'll do. I'm still in rectangle mode. I'm going to select these rocks, and I already have the temple applied, right? So we cannot click the apply button again because we will get rid of the temple and only get the rocks. So here's what we need to do. And this is important. If you click plus to add the rocks right now, nothing happens because I do need to click active selection again. And now click add. And now you can see the rocks are now in that mask. So pretty cool. So now they have detail. I'm going to get this walkway. I'm going to change this from rectangle to lasso. And what we'll do is just lasso right around this area here, like so. And we'll see if it can select this. And yeah, it has done a really good job selecting that. And now click active selection again, click plus to add it. And now we've added the walkway. And lastly, I need this wall back here. So let me just lasso around this and see if I can get this whole area here. And it missed this part of the wall here. So what we can do is type L to get your lasso tool. Hold your shift key down. We can add to this selection. So I'm just going to go ahead and lasso right around this area just to add that. And now come to the layer mask calculator again, click active selection, click plus to add it. And now we've added the wall. And now I can close the layer mask calculator by clicking the X, and let me click this button to deselect our selection. Now let me shut this layer off. Here's before the detail. And now here is after, and I really like that. Now remember, this is a smart object, so we could double click on camera raw filter and go back and make a readjustment if we need to. Now the next thing I want to do is close off the sky, darken it up a little bit at the top, and close off the bottom. We'll start with the sky. So to do that, we'll click on this button to add a curves adjustment layer, click on this button to add a black mask. We want to darken, so we'll click the multiply blend mode button, and the black mask is hiding the darkening effect. And now we want to click this button to get a gradient tool, and make sure that if you click this drop down under basics, click this button right here, and then make sure linear gradient is selected. That's this button, so click it, and then make sure reverse is checked on. That's very important. And now let's make the gradient. So click here, drag down, hold your shift key down to constrain. You see that? We're going to click down to right here and maybe just pull this up a little bit. This is kind of like a window blind or window shade. You see that? Pull it up to about right there. Now, if you don't want to see this line, if you click right here, the curves icon, and what I want to do is pull this opacity back to like 85%. And now here is before and here is after. See, it just keeps the viewer into the frame by darkening the top of the image and closing it off. And now we want to close off the bottom, but let's cheat here. We already have this layer set up. If we click this button on the combo or CX panel, we will duplicate that layer. But as soon as I come down here and start to draw the live gradient, this top gradient will go away. So let me go ahead and click and drag up. I'm going to put this on a slight angle, like right about there. I'm not going to adjust the diamond. And let's click right here so we don't have to see that line. Right now it's at 85%, but I'm going to take it down to like right there, 45%. Now let me shut this off. Here's before, and now here is after, and now we've closed off the bottom of the image. We're getting near the end of the edit. I do want to put a slight vignette around the entire image. So if your TK actions aren't open, click your TK button. click the basic vignette button, and the Gaussian blur dialog comes up. Just click OK. And all I want to do here is pull my opacity back to right there, 15%. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Just a nice subtle vignette, keeping the viewer into the frame. We'll finish off by giving this image a slight exposure adjustment. So we're going to click this button on the multi-mask panel. And what I want to do is click right here in this field to highlight it. Hold your shift key down. As you're holding shift, click the up arrow 3 times. Here's 1, 2, and 3. That's 3/10 of a stop. And then I want to click on gamma correction. Click right here to highlight this. And then we're going to type the down arrow. We're just going to darken up the midtones a little bit. Here's 1 time, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And now let me shut this off. Here's before the exposure adjustment, and here's after. Now, the last thing I want to do is just check around the edges of the temple. And I'm just going to show you, there's a couple areas like right here on the other side as well of the temple. I'll just show you how I take care of this. Can you see this little discoloration right here? What you can do is get yourself a blank pixel layer by clicking this button on the combo or CX panel, and then click on the remove tool. And with a very small brush, all I do is just paint along the edge like this, and that'll just clean that right up. You see that? So anywhere you see any, like a halo type look or whatever, you could just bring that remove tool around it and it'll just clean it right up. So I just wanted to show that to you. I'm not going to do the whole thing because, hey, you spent all this time watching the video and that's it. But you could do that at the end. Just inspect around the temple and you could use the remove tool to fix any issues. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the overall before and after. So on my combo panel, I'll click my before after button. We started out here and now we end up here. So I'm really happy with the way this edit turned out and I hope you give it a try. Well, there it is, everyone. Another TK Friday comes to a close. If you enjoyed today's full edit tutorial, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Click all so that you'll receive all notifications. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.